These are Apple's new AirPods Pro 3. They're probably the best wireless headphones or earbuds that I've ever tested, but let's see if the mics stack up compared to tried and true old AirPods, obviously Apple's EarPods with the microphone on the wire, and even AirPods Max and the Powerbeats Pro. So let's get into it without further ado. This is the test on the traditional Apple wired microphone. Pretty good. Let me know how it sounds, and let's see how it stacks up to AirPods Pro 3. These are Apple's newest earbuds. How do they sound? It seems like this one is taking over the mic settings when I was doing my test setting this up. And to be honest, inside my ears, when I'm listening to music and stuff, the audio quality, the ANC, and the transparency is phenomenal on these earbuds. I've been really, really impressed. It's kind of outstanding. The mic, I'm hoping to be a big upgrade because the AirPods Pro 2, which we'll switch to next, was a really good microphone for in-ear earbuds. But yeah, if you take a lot of meetings, you want great audio quality, great noise cancellation, these seem like they're probably going to be the best bet. Not to mention this year, there's heart rate tracking. If you want to casually take your heart rate when you're listening to music on a run or something, you don't really like wearing an Apple Watch, although you need to have your phone in your pocket for that. And there's also live translation, another phone-related feature. This one specifically needs a phone with Apple Intelligence, but if you're talking to someone in a different language, I'll put the supported languages on screen here. But if you're talking to someone in one of those languages, the AirPods will translate once you turn them on. It's pretty cool. Worked well in my test and an impressive feature, but also coming to the AirPods 4 and AirPods Pros 2, which we'll switch to. All right, these are Apple's AirPods Pros 2, which have been phenomenal for years. They've got MagSafe. All these new features are on the new ones too. But I will say, immediately putting these ones in, they feel much less secure than the new ones. The new ones have a way better fit. But how do the microphones stack up? I guess let me know in the comments below. But yeah, I don't know. Pretty much the same size case. It's been a little bigger, honestly, but pretty much the same size in your pocket. Not a big thing there. Still got the lanyard loop on the new one too. Find My, all that good support. Actually, Find My in the new AirPods Pro 3 now has a U2 chip, which increases the accuracy of the location tracking to, I believe, 60 meters or whatever it is. I'll put on screen, but it increases it. So if you lose your earbuds a lot, perhaps that's the one for you. Anyway, let's switch over to the AirPods 4. I'm actually using the model with active noise cancellation, but the mic should be the same across both of them if our test last year were any indication, and obviously Apple says they're the same. The big pros of these ones are they are extremely tiny, so if you don't got a lot of pocket space, these might be the best ones for you. Also, if you don't like wearing silicone tip earbuds, although the new ones on the AirPods Pro 3 are technically foam injected, they kind of feel still like silicone-ish, but if you don't like tips on your earbuds, these are probably the best you can get. I find these extremely comfortable. I like to wear one of them in my ear before bed, so when I'm falling asleep, I have a headphone in. And actually a new feature coming to AirPods 4, AirPods Pro 2, and AirPods 3 this year with iOS 26, iPadOS 26, etc., 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 etc. You know what I'm talking about. So apparently if you fall asleep listening to something with one of those earbuds that I just mentioned, it will pause it automatically if it detects you're asleep. I believe you need to have your watch on for that, but that's a cool AirPods feature, so good on Apple for that one. How do the mics sound? And let's skip over to the older AirPods 3 and see how they stack up. All right, these are the AirPods 3. These are pretty old right now at this point, although I really like these ones because they did have MagSafe in the case and they had skin sensors, both things that Apple took away when they put the tiny AirPods 4 out last year with noise cancellation. I still think the 4 is a better package altogether. It still has wireless charging, but I'm kind of a big MagSafe guy, so MagSafe on these AirPods 3 was something I really enjoyed. But how do they sound? Would you upgrade from these to the new AirPods Pros 3? These appear to be Google's Pixel Buds Pros 2. They are extremely comfortable, extremely tiny in the ears, pretty big case, lots of battery life, lots of cool AI features. They also have a translation thing. It's not quite as good as Apple's because it's more of a word-based and sentence-based structure. And these are how the microphones sound. But from the reading I'm seeing on my chart here, it's not looking very good. I'm excited to see how this sounds when I get into the editing bay. Hopefully better than I'm expecting. All right, these are the throwback. These are the 2019 AirPods, pretty much the first AirPods that existed. There was a version that came out, I believe, in 2016 before that, but these are pretty much the same thing. I believe it had a better battery life and a few other features. But if you're still rocking these, good for you. That is a really long time to keep a pair of wireless headphones with tiny batteries alive, so that's awesome. But yeah, these are kind of just to show how far the microphones have come on wireless headphones since 2019. I guess we've 6 years. We've come a pretty long way. Okay, this chunky case, which is actually smaller than its predecessor, is called the Powerbeats Pro 2s, and these are the only other earbuds that I know of that have a heart rate sensor built into them. And unlike the new AirPods, these also will step track. So you could use these kind of a little more independently than you could with the AirPods, which kind of necessitate being paired with a phone. That being said, these are a little bigger, a little bulkier, not as sleek. I don't think they sounded as good as the AirPods, and you got to deal with this giant case. So if you're super sporty and you need these giant hooks, these are probably the ones for you. But for the rest of us, I think the AirPods Pro 3 are a little better. Anyway, let me know if the mics sound okay. All right, just to reset the baseline again, just to compare to the Powerbeats, because I feel like that's a buying decision a lot of people are going to have. This is the AirPods Pro 3 versus the Powerbeats. Let me know how they sound. And we'll switch over to the last one, which will be the AirPods Max, which kind of also have killer microphones. So let's see if these ones actually compete with, the best of the best from Apple, considering the little wired guys we tried at the start, and then the big guys we're going to try at the end. All right, so something happened with the AirPods Max test. That's why the angles changed. But basically, this is just me 20 minutes later redoing it. This is how they sound compared to the AirPods Pro 3, which after going through the timeline over here, honestly, kind of phenomenal. They are compared to everything I was recording onto this iPhone 16 Pro, the audio that I was matching that I was recording into the headphones, and waveform wise, these are probably pretty good, but the AirPods Pro 3 is their waveform honestly matched like what was coming from the phone almost perfectly, which really tells me that it seems like Apple is using very similar mics across them. Quite surprising. Was it perfect? It still was a little echoey. Maybe there could be a little more processing applied, but just in general, very surprising. Quite good microphones this year, and quite accurate. There's like a real quality improvement, not just a usability improvement, and that was kind of cool to see. Anyway, I'm Brad Bennett. Stick around to MobileSyrup for all kinds of Apple stuff this week, and I'll see you later.